Yes, so creatives, welcome to another interesting tutorial. In this tutorial, you'll be learning how to make your pattern sizes either smaller or larger. Okay, so it is called pattern grading. But pattern grading on its own is a very technical skill. So in this video, I decided to simplify the concept of pattern grading for beginners to be able to follow suit. Okay, so it is a simplified version of pattern grading that you are going to be learning here in this tutorial. So when you want to make your pattern either smaller or larger, these are the factors you consider. You will not just take a size, let me say a plus size, and then reduce it for a petite size. It won't work that way. You rather use a size that is closer in range. For example, this pattern is 36 for bust and 28 for waistline. So if you want to grade a pattern, what I'll suggest for you is you grade according to the closeness of the measurements. For instance, I would say you should have at least 3 different types of patterns at your disposition. You should have a pattern for a petite lady, you should have a pattern for a plus size, and then for a medium size lady, right? So in that case, by the time you want to do pattern grading or make the pattern smaller or larger, you know what you go for. Okay, now look at what I mean. This pattern is bust 36 and then waist 28. Now if you have a client that comes for measurements and you measure the bust is 38 and then the waist is 30, you know that this pattern is close to that person's measurement. So you take this for the pattern grading, right? So since this is 36 and here is 28 and the new measurement here is 38 and here is 20, here is 30, that's the waistline is 30, the adjustment won't be so great. So that's what you should look out for, the nearness of the measurements, because we know that nobody's measurement is exactly the same because we are all created uniquely in our different sizes, but the proximity of the measurement matters. So let's assume you want to grade this one for that size as we mentioned, bust 38 and waistline 30. Okay, and this is already bust 36 and this is waistline 28. What you simply do here, you know that you want to increase the bust circumference by 2 inches, right? This is a quarter of the entire body, a quarter. That means we are dividing that 2 by 4. Okay? So 2 divided by 4 will simply give you half. What you want to simply do now to add half an inch to the bust area, okay? You just mark half an inch here like this, okay? So you have extended the bust out by half an inch. Then for the waistline, remember it's the same thing. The difference is still half an inch. Since the difference is 2 divided by 4 will give you half. So the down is also the same thing. So to grade your pattern now, you just extend this down. So having done that, the next thing you want to do, you want to simply increase your armhole also by half an inch from the shoulder area. Just watch it. Okay, can you see? So you add half an inch also on the shoulder area like this. Can you see what we have gotten? And then also note that at this point you can also consider the shoulder width of the person. For this, the shoulder width is 14, so it's still the same thing. If for example the person's shoulder width is let me say 15, then you increase this by half an inch still. Okay, so the measurements you are looking out for are just simply your bust circumference, your waistline circumference, okay? But then the shoulder matters too. So the bust line, the waistline, and the shoulder should be considered while grading your patterns. Okay, so this is it for enlarging a pattern that is close to the one you are working with. So at this point, we have graded the pattern. The next thing you need to do here is to transfer the darts. So you use your tracing wheel. Okay, this is a tracing wheel. You just simply use your tracing wheel to transfer the darts to the new pattern, like this. Okay, so you are tracing out the darts. Okay, if you will be altering the pattern, you can also trace out the chest line like this, and the waistline also. Okay, so at this point you can now remove the original pattern. Can you see? Look at what we are having. The lines may not be so clear to you, but they are clear to me. I've traced them out, so I'll just simply re-emphasize them with my marker for you to see clearly. Okay, so these are the darts. Automatically we have gotten a larger pattern without having to measure, and this pattern will be accurate to the size of the person. This is it. This is how to grade your pattern to make it larger. So let's simply take how to make it smaller. Okay, now it's time to make it smaller. Then also note, okay, this is the pattern we have gotten, okay, the larger pattern, and this is the original pattern. Can you see? Can you see the difference? Okay, so let's set aside the larger pattern, and then before we start making a smaller pattern, let me quickly mention the measurements I said you must note are not the only ones you should note. There are also other measurements you should take into consideration. For example, the waistline. Okay, the waistline, the length of the waistline. So for this, the waistline is, the shoulder to waistline measurement is 17. So in case for what you are grading, the shoulder to waistline is more than or smaller than, you know what to do from exactly what we have done now, I guess so. But after making the pattern smaller, after showing you how to reduce a pattern, I'm sure you'll be able to do whatever you want with your patterns. So now it's time to make this pattern smaller. Remember, we are working with a pattern of bust 36 and waistline 28. Okay, so in this very instance, we want to assume that the bust is 34 and the waistline is 37. Okay, so if the bust is 34, that means we'll be reducing it by 4 inches. We'll be reducing it by 2 inches, which is the entire pattern is this, is 4 of this. That simply means we are dividing 2 by 4 the same way. Dividing 2 by 4 will give us half. So we are reducing this pattern on the bust area by half an inch. Okay, so let's make it stay just with these scissors and we proceed. So we are reducing the pattern by half an inch. So let's mark half an inch here. Okay, so we have marked it there. And then next for the waistline circumference is, for here is 28. Then for what we are working for is 27. That means we are reducing the entire bodies by 1 inch. So we'll divide that 1 by 4, which will give us 1/4 of an inch. So we are reducing the waist circumference by 1/4 of an inch, right? So we mark that here. Now it's time to connect it with this. Okay, you can decide to use your, okay, let me use my marker so that everything will be clear to you. Let me use my marker. So I'm connecting these 2 points now. Okay, so I've connected. The bust is now 34. We need to reduce the armhole still by half an inch. Okay, the armhole length will be reduced by half an inch. Can you see this? I have marked it, and then I'll simply take it across like this. And as you already know, the neck width and the neck depth has also reduced. Okay, let's also assume the half length is 15. Okay, this is 16 actually. For this original pattern, the half length is 16, but let's assume the half length of this person is 15. Okay, this is the time to reduce it at once. So you just simply mark 15 and then you insert a line like this. Okay, another measurement I still want us to take for this demonstration is the shoulder to bust, okay, or shoulder to nipple points. So for this original pattern, the shoulder to bust measurement is 10.5. okay, I've inserted a line here, 10 inches. So for this new pattern, the shoulder to bust is 10. okay, so we have inserted 10 inches line here. So take note of all the new lines we've inserted. Shoulder to bust, we inserted shoulder to waistline, and also we inserted a new line for to connect the bust and the waistline. Okay, look at the new waistline here, look at the connection to the bust, then look at the shoulder to bust points, and then the darts too have been extended to meet with the new bust points. Okay, so what you will do, simply you'll be tracing out all these new lines we've inserted. Okay, you trace them out, with your tracing wheel. Just mind you, it's only the new lines you are tracing out. Okay, then for the bust dart too, you create a new bust dart of 2 inches. Okay, depending on the difference between the back and the front, right? Okay, can you see what we are doing here? Okay, so for the chest line, it remains the same. Simply trace it out. The armhole line, it remains the same, and then the shoulder tip line, we have inserted a new line, you trace it out, and then the neckline also, you trace it out like this. Now it's time to remove the pattern and see what we are having. Can you see the new smaller pattern? It may not be so clear. I will need to re-emphasize all the lines. Okay, I re-emphasized the new bust line and the waistline already, so I will just follow the same process and re-emphasize all the other lines. Okay, so here I'm done re-emphasizing the lines. Can you see? Now it's time to cut it out and compare all the 3 patterns we have been able to grade. Okay, the 2 patterns we have been able to grade with our original pattern. So here is it. Can you see what we are having? This is the larger pattern, this is the smaller, and this is the original. Can you see? So let's now put them together and see what we have gotten. Okay, can you see what we have here? Can you see? So we are done grading our patterns. The points you must note here is that before you grade a pattern, just like I've mentioned before, you should have at least 3 different range of sizes. For a petite size, for a normal size, and for a plus size. Okay, if you have these, when the measurements comes, you grade it according to the proximity of the measurements. So dear so creatives, if you find this video helpful in one way or the other, please subscribe to my channel and turn on your notification bell so that whenever I post new videos like this, new tutorial videos, you get notified, right? And also like and drop your comments constructively. Whatever question you have, feel free to put your question down in the comment section. I'll be answering your questions.